Hi guys, today's video is a get ready with me video and I'm going to be using a brand new release Dior blush. I'm also going to be using an Hourglass lipstick. I just picked up one. They released the Unlocked. It's the Satin Cream lipstick and I just picked up the one shade in that. And I also, about 3 weeks ago now, I also purchased, it's a fairly new release from By Terry. It's their new foundation. So I'm also going to be showing you that today as well. And I've made this into just a get ready with me video because the eyeshadow palette that I'm going to use is not a new release, but I put all of these products together yesterday just for my everyday makeup and I thought they all looked really beautiful together. So I thought I would show you that eyeshadow palette. It is a Dior one and I hadn't reached for it for a while, but I do love the color story and maybe you've also got this in your collection as well and it's been forgotten, but it is a really lovely eyeshadow palette. So I've already got all my skincare on and the last step being my sunscreen. I've still got to put on some primer. So today I'm going to use the new Dior primer. It's the Forever Velvet Veil one and I did a dedicated video on this. I just use one pump and just dot that round. Now since I did my first video when I reviewed this product, I've worn it a lot and with a lot of different foundations that I have, and there hasn't been a foundation yet that it hasn't worked with. So the foundation that I'm going to use today, it's a fairly new one from By Terry. It's called the Eclat Opulent Serum Foundation. And I haven't tried By Terry foundation before this one. And it was more of a new release. Now there is another Eclat Opulent one that doesn't have serum in the title. I never tried that one. Because this did have serum in it, I thought it wasn't going to work for my oily skin. I thought I'll still pick it up, I will review it, and then I can let people know that it doesn't work with oily skin. So when I received it, I put it on and I was surprised how well it worked. Now it's interesting that it does work with my oily skin, but then I watched a couple of videos on it. This was after I had tried it, and one of them was with someone with dry skin and they didn't like it at all. So I think this is more geared towards combination oily skin, although I'm pretty sure on their website it says more from combination to dry, but it definitely works with my oily skin. It's now summer here in New Zealand, so my skin is very oily. It is quite humid at the moment, and I just think this foundation works really well with my oily skin. So I'm just having a look on their website again, and under this foundation it says the coverage is medium, and I would agree with that. It says the finish is a natural matte, sort of like a soft matte, and I would agree with that as well. And then it goes down and it talks about the skin type and it says normal to dry. Well, that's where I probably disagree with that. I think this is more for probably work with normal skin and also combination skin and also, as I was saying, with my oily skin as well. Now the video that I did see, the person had dry skin, they didn't like it. That doesn't mean that it wouldn't work for you if you have dry skin, but if you do have normal that's a little bit dry towards that dry skin, then I would definitely try and pick up a sample of this before you purchase it. I picked this up in the shade number 3 Latte. It comes in a jar and this is made in France and this is full of skincare ingredients. It is a really lovely foundation. There are people that don't like products that come in a jar. I don't mind it. This doesn't come with any type of scoop though. So how I've been using it is I've just been wiping down and cleaning my Chanel Sublimage little scoop that came with that concealer, and I've been using that to just scoop the foundation out. The packaging of this is really lovely. I will hold it up for you to take a look. And then it just has the screw off lid, and I'll try and show you what it looks like in there, but it is quite runny and I don't really want it to tip out, but hopefully you can see what it's like. So it's not thick in any way. So I'm just going to take some of the product out and I'll put a little bit on the back of my hand so you can see what it's like. Now when I take it out with that little scoop and put it on my hand, it doesn't tend to run down my hand. It isn't overly runny, but it's not a thick foundation at all. So I'm just going to take some of that, and I'll probably need to take out some more. I'll just do the left side of my face first so you can take a look. I really didn't think this would work with my skin since it was a serum foundation, but it does. It actually looks really, really nice. Now this does have a scent. It's not as heavy as some of the By Terry products, but it is fragrant, just so that you're aware of that. Now I have tried this with a brush, and I actually prefer this with a sponge. Now I do have, well, actually the majority of my foundations I can use with either a brush or a sponge, but for some reason I just think this foundation goes on better using some type of beauty sponge. So that's with my left side done. I haven't got any foundation on the side yet. So it does give it is a very natural finish. It is, I would say, a light medium finish, and it's also what I would call, they call it a natural matte. I would say there's more foundations around that are called soft matte, so if you're used to that term, I would describe that as a soft matte. I think it looks really lovely. I think it is really flattering on mature skin. Doesn't tend to emphasize my wrinkles or settle into any lines. Now just with the amount that I put on, I can still see my sunspot through here and also a little bit of redness through here. I think the coverage like this is just absolutely perfect, but I am just going to take a little bit more onto my sponge, and I'll just show you just how it does build up. You can also put concealer on top instead of building up the foundation. Some people like to do that, or use their foundation to build up and get a little bit more coverage. So once I've added a little bit more, I would say now it's a strong medium finish. So it just depends what type of finish you like in a foundation. So you can have that very natural light to medium, or a soft medium finish, or you can get it to a strong medium just by adding a little bit more of the product. So now I'm just going to put some on the other side. So I've now done my eyebrows, and I've also put concealer on. Today I used the Chanel Sublimage one. Everything that I am putting on my face today I will have listed and linked in the description box below. Now normally I also use my MAC paint pot to put eyeshadow primer on. I always wear eyeshadow primer because I have oily skin and oily eyelids, but today I'm going to use the one from the eyeshadow palette, and the palette that I'm going to use today, and it is one of my favorite Dior Backstage ones, and this is the Cool Neutrals in 002. I think this is a really beautiful color story, and these come with a primer, this one up here, so that's what I'm going to use today. So I'm just going to grab a Sonia G brush and go into, just going to use a very small amount of the primer and just pop some of that on. I probably will still powder this down. I just use the Makeup by Mario. This is a really good primer. I only tend to use it though if I'm going to use the eyeshadow palette. Otherwise I have the MAC paint pot one in the drawer just down below here, and that's the one that I tend to reach for. But I really like this primer. I think it does a really good job in these palettes. So I'm just going to pop just a tiny bit of powder over the top. This is the Makeup by Mario powder that I was talking about. And I've also powdered under my eyes as well. So I'm not going to spend too long with this eyeshadow palette, but because it looked, when I used it yesterday, I just thought it was so pretty. I really wanted to show it to you in this video. Maybe you have seen it before, been a Dior product. Maybe you haven't, but I just think it is a really, really lovely palette. So I'm just going to mainly use these 3 shades down here. So I'm going to start off with this very light pink shade down here. You don't really see much. I just put this all over the lid. Then I'm going to take my Refer number 14, go into the shade down here, and I'm going to put that through my crease and take it slightly above as well. I'm not going to be going way up here, but I just want to be able to see it when I'm just looking straight ahead. Then I'm going to stay with the Refer number 14 brush and go into the darkest shade. And I'm just going to put that in the outer corner. And I'm going to take that just slightly above the crease as well. Then we take this on G Soft Definer. I'm going to stay with that dark shade, and I'm going to run some of that under my lower lash line. And then I'm going to go into the shade here. This was the one that I used yesterday instead of that one. This is a lilac metallic, and it's really, really pretty. So I'm just going to put that through here and a little bit up through here as well. Then we'll take the Sonia G. This is the pencil one, and I'm just going to stay with this metallic shade, and I'm going to run a little bit just through here. Then I'm just going to stay with the pencil one, go back into that dark shade, and just add a little bit more in the outer corner. Now normally before I put on my eyeshadow, I do powder my face and also put some bronzer on, but I just wanted to show you what this foundation looks like, because as I was saying, it is summer here in New Zealand. It is a very warm day today. I've also got these lights in front of me, so it is pretty warm in the room, and you can see that it's not shiny at all. It's not a flat matte, but it hasn't gone shiny at all. Now the other times that I've worn this, I have powdered it just so that it does last all day. But I just want to show you the finish. It's not a type of foundation where you're going to get this super glow. It is how they describe it. It is a natural matte, and it feels as though if it was winter time, I wouldn't really have to powder it, but I am going to do that now, because if I don't, then it's probably not going to last throughout the day, and I have been wearing it with a powder, and the one that I've been wearing it with is the Chanel, the Natural Loose Finish one. I really love this powder. I think it's fantastic for oily skin. So I'm not going to put a huge amount of powder on. Just taken a little bit on this brush. This is the BK Beauty. This is the 105 brush. And I'm just going to dab a little bit of powder on all over. But I don't find that I need to put a lot on. This really is just a great foundation for oily skin, and I think it looks really, really lovely. Now the bronzer that I'm going to use today, and I don't tend to reach for a lot, not because I don't like it, because it's tucked at the back of my bronzer drawer, and I've been using it for the last 2 or 3 days, and I do really love this bronzer. It is the Gucci one, and this is in the shade 03, and it is really lovely. I think when I first purchased it, I wasn't sure whether the shade was right for me, but now that I've been trying it out again the last 3 days or so, I think it is really, really lovely, and I do like the shade, perhaps because it is summertime now. I'm going to take the Sonia G. This is the Jumbo Bronzer. This is a fairly new purchase of mine as well. I still love the Niji Pro. I have 2 of those brushes, but this one is really lovely as well. I think it puts product on just beautifully. So now let's take a look at this newly released Dior blush. It is a limited edition. This is number 468. It is Lupine. Now apparently in 2021, people think that the exact same shade was released. It was also number 468, and that one was called Nude Glide. Now, I never picked that one up, so I can't compare them, but I do have a couple of other blushes that I am going to swatch alongside this. Now, I've done a short on this, and I've also done swatches for this on Instagram. I think this is a really beautiful shade. Now, on the Dior website, they describe this as a pink taupe. Now, I love pink blushes with a little bit of brown in. I think they're just beautiful. This does have shimmer in it, and it also is more pigmented than I thought it was going to be as well. Now, you can put on quite a sheer wash of colour to begin with, but it is definitely buildable. I think it is a really lovely blush. So now let's take a look at it. It's in the standard Dior packaging. It does have beautiful embossing on it, with the Christian Dior through the middle there. I'll just turn down the light in front of me so you can take a good look at it. I'm not sure whether the camera will pick up the shimmer that it has. And here is a swatch of it. So that's with one swipe. I'll just go over it again, and you can see the shimmer in it. Now the blush that was released a couple of years ago, the one called Nude Glide, Dior described that one as a rosy taupe and this one as a pink taupe. Now they do look, just from the couple of pictures that I've seen, they do look very similar. Perhaps the one that was released a couple of years ago, the Nude Glide, is slightly deeper, got a bit more of a rose in it. But I would say if you have the Nude Glide one, you probably wouldn't need this one. But then if you loved your products, then you will love this. I think this is a really beautiful shade. Now with the shimmer in this blush, I don't find it too glittery at all. Not last Christmas, but the Christmas before, Dior also put out an eyeshadow. It was 601, and I think that was called Hollow Glam. And this was the blush, and this was sort of beyond a shimmer. It has quite a bit of glitter in it. It is also very sheer, and I ended up using this more as a blush topper. It is really, really pretty. I'm going to swatch this next to this blush so you can take a look, but this definitely has more of a glitter in this one. So this is the Hollow Glam, and you can see how sheer it is compared to this one. And I think this definitely has more of a sparkle in it. And I've also got the Dior Blush 459. Now this is Chanel, so you can see what that one looks like. I'll just grab a little bit more. So the Chanel blush has more brown in it than the Lupine one. This one definitely has more of a pink in it. So this one is definitely more deeper, and this one doesn't have the shimmer in it like this one has either. And then I've just got, for comparison, since they call this new Dior blush, it's got the pink taupe in it. This one here is the number 1 de Chanel. This is the one in Healthy Pink, just so you can get a comparison if you love this type of shade with the brown in it. So that one is Healthy Pink, that one is Chanel, this is Hollow Glam, and this is the new one, Lupine. And this one here is the Natasha Denona one. This is from her My Dream Cheek Trio palette. I think this is a really beautiful blush. This definitely has more brown in it. Has more brown than any of the other blushes. This is probably more closer to Chanel, but there's definitely more brown in here than the new Dior blush. So I'm going to take my Chugahodo, this is the F03, and just swirl it around in there. Now yesterday when I wore this, I just dipped the brush in once, and for me that was enough. So this definitely has quite a bit of pigment. You can go lighter in the pan if you want to. Don't swirl it around as much, you'll get less product. So just with one swirling it around and putting it on, that's how much pigment you get. Now, I think this is a really pretty blush, and you can see the shimmer in it, but I don't think it's too much. It's definitely less than that other blush that I swatched, that Hollow Glam one. I think this is really, really pretty. So I'm just going to swirl it in one more time, and I'm just going to put it on the other cheek. So I think it looks really, really pretty. I do love those blushes that have the pink and the brown mixed in, or the taupe, as they say this one has. I think they are really, really beautiful. I don't think the shimmer is too much. I just think it's subtle and really pretty. Doesn't tend to emphasize the texture on my skin. I think it is really, really lovely. So lastly is lipstick, and I just picked up one shade. Recently Hourglass released some lipsticks. They're called the Unlocked, the Satin Cream lipsticks, and I picked up the one in the shade Tide. So I do think the casing of these Hourglass lipsticks are really beautiful. It is flat on the bottom but has the angle, and then the Hourglass Unlocked logo on the top. Really, really lovely. So I wasn't too sure which shade to get. I have tried this. As I said, I put on this whole look yesterday and I really liked it, and I am thrilled with this shade. I think it is really, really beautiful. So I'm just going to swatch it on the back of my hand so you can take a look. So this is a beautiful nude pink, again with just a hint of brown in it. It is just really, really beautiful. And the formula of these lipsticks are just gorgeous. They go on beautifully. They have a lot of pigment to them. They're not going to last as long as, say, a matte lipstick. That's sort of not what they're about. But when I wore this one yesterday, I just found it really easy to apply as well. Of course, the shade is more nude, and they're always easier to reapply throughout the day. You don't really need a mirror when you're reapplying them, but a really lovely lipstick. So here is the finished look, and you can see why I wanted to show you all the products that I had put on yesterday, because I think that all together they just look really, really beautiful. The foundation really surprised me. I think it is gorgeous. I think it looks really beautiful on my skin, and I think it is super flattering for mature skin. So if you're interested in a By Terry foundation and you have normal combination oily skin, then I think this is a really lovely foundation. The Dior eyeshadow palette, no, it's not new, but it is really beautiful. I love the color story of this, and I love it with the blush and the lipstick that I'm wearing today as well. It's just a really, really lovely palette. The blush is beautiful. Now, like I was saying before, if you have the one that was released, it's the 468 and it's the one Nude Glide. If you have that one, then possibly you don't need this one, but then you might love Dior blushes. You might want to pick up this for the embossing, because the embossing is different on this. Now, I'm not sure whether these shades are exactly the same. They do have the same number, although like I said a couple of years ago, Dior described the Nude Glide that it was a rosy taupe. This one they describe as a pink taupe. Not really much between the two though. And saying that, I didn't pick up the one that was released a couple of years ago. I think the shade is really beautiful. It's definitely a shade that I would reach for. I just love it. I think it's really lovely, and I like the shimmer in it. It's just not too much. It's definitely not as much as that swatch I showed you, that one Dior put out a couple of years ago, the Hollow Glam. That definitely had, it was more of a glittery type of effect, and I also thought it was more of a topper as well. The Hourglass lipstick is beautiful. I just picked up the one shade and I am thrilled with the shade. This is a beautiful everyday type of lipstick for me. The formula itself is lovely. It's satin. It's quite a rich satin, and it's also really moisturizing. It feels very, very comfortable on the lips. So altogether, I am thrilled with everything that I picked up. The lipstick, the blush, and also the foundation. The foundation was a real surprise for me. As I was saying at the beginning of the video, I thought because it had serum in it, I thought I'll pick it up, review it, and I'll be warning people with oily skin not to buy it. But it's the complete opposite. It really works with my oily skin, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. So that's it for today's video. I'd love it if you gave it a like and subscribed, and I will see you next time. Bye.